Most people have no idea what just happened in American politics over the last few days. They think they know. They saw a headline about Trump considering firing FBI Director Kash Patel. Um, they heard a few words from J.D. Vance about fraud and corruption, case closed, right? Surface events, routine drama. But what you're about to discover will completely change how you see trust in media, accountability and justice, and priorities in government. Because this wasn't just a rumor, this wasn't just a statement from a politician, this was a stress test, a full system diagnostic showing where power, credibility, and public frustration intersect. And when you connect the collapse of the media rumor with Vance's searing critique of domestic failures, you'll see a chess game most people don't even realize is being played. The board just tilted, and not in the direction anyone expected. Let me show you what everyone missed. Here's what actually happened, stripped of the noise. A major cable news network aired a story claiming President Trump might remove Kash Patel as FBI director. They cited 3 unnamed sources. On its face, it sounded credible, insider knowledge, breaking news banner, dramatic graphics. But the language mattered, considering May remove White House contending with headlines. It wasn't a decision, it was speculation dressed as authority. A narrative designed to go viral, not to inform. And yet, this time the story didn't survive. Within hours, Trump answered directly, no, Kash Patel is doing a good job. The White House released a photo of the two together in the Oval Office with a statement from the press secretary, fake news. Just like that, the rumor collapsed. Simultaneously, J.D. Vance addressed the public connecting a $7 million Medicaid fraud case in Minnesota to systemic failures. A jury convicted the fraudsters in 4 hours, but Judge Sarah West overturned the verdict, letting them walk free. Vance used this moment to point out a larger crisis. Domestic priorities are being ignored, housing is unaffordable, healthcare is broken, violence is rising, fraud goes unpunished, yet the political class obsesses over foreign policy and Washington theatrics. Suddenly, 2 threads converge, the media narrative collapses, exposing fragility, and Vance names the real problems Americans actually face. Trust, accountability, and priorities are all in the spotlight. The obvious question, why did these events happen now, and what do they reveal about the hidden game of power? To understand the significance, you need to understand the players and the patterns. Trump has always been a lightning rod. Depending on where you sit, he's either a savior exposing institutional hypocrisy or a disruptor undermining norms. There's no middle ground. His rapid response to the Kash Patel rumor wasn't just offensive, it was strategic signaling. By collapsing a media narrative within hours, he showed exactly who controls information and who doesn't. J.D. Vance, meanwhile, has positioned himself as a straight talker. He sees domestic dysfunction in stark terms: fraud, corruption, misaligned priorities. He names it without sugarcoating. He's not courting headlines for ego. He's pointing out what voters feel but rarely hear articulated. The legal and political frameworks here matter. Judges have discretion, juries don't. Media outlets can float rumors, but credibility is earned, not assumed. And timing is everything. Trump's public denial came before the rumor could embed itself, while Vance's speech cut through the distraction. Historically, when narratives collapse quickly, public perception shifts. Look at past examples. Anonymous source leaks often survive days of debate before being confirmed or denied. When they fail immediately, it's a credibility earthquake. Comparisons matter too. Previous media gaffes created multi-day story arcs, allowing political opponents to capitalize. This time, Trump and Vance controlled the narrative before anyone could react. The contrast couldn't be sharper. Speculation versus reality, headline drama versus lived experience. And here's where it gets interesting. These 2 events weren't isolated. They reveal a pattern. The media struggles to dictate reality. The political class struggles to address domestic issues. And voters are watching, judging, and recalibrating their trust. Judging by Trump's quick intervention and Vance's timing, both players understand the system's fragility and know exactly how to exploit it to expose the disconnect between elites and everyday Americans. So, what's really happening here? Because the surface story misses the deeper game entirely. The question isn't whether Kash Patel is safe, it's whether media narratives can survive when confronted with direct reality. And this isn't a one-off. It's a signal that the traditional power of cable news is eroding. Rumors can be debunked instantly when someone strategically counters them. Legislation or executive orders to overhaul immigration vetting, maybe retroactive checks for previous Afghan entrants, growing presence of military, paramilitary forces in urban policing roles could shift policing model in major cities, hardening of political divides, security hawks versus civil liberty advocates, immigrant communities drawn in as targets, reform or rollback of resettlement, asylum programs, especially those tied to evacuation resettlement efforts, expansion of domestic surveillance, background monitoring, even restrictions on movement or residency for certain immigrant groups. A false flag or copycat attack, real or staged, could further radicalize public opinion, overseas retaliation or blowback, targeting Afghan diaspora inside US, increasing communal tensions, judicial battles, challenges to expanded military deployment or civil liberty curbs, potential Supreme Court, constitutional conflicts. Over the next 5 years, this incident may be remembered not as an isolated tragedy, but as the spark that shifted U.S. immigration, security, and civil liberties policy permanently. For ordinary Americans, this shows how quickly individual tragedy can be leveraged for sweeping systemic change under security. Universal lesson: in power politics, security and fear are the most potent levers. A single flashpoint can reset policies, shift norms, and recast public perception. This isn't just about a crime, it's about the recalibration of power, surveillance, and governance. The message sent: if one attack is enough to change immigration and domestic security policy, what does that say about the fragility of civil rights? The unresolved question: is this truly the beginning of a transformation or a slippery slope toward a permanently securitized society?